Anytime that I, or anyone else for that matter, even suggests that they enjoy music on dead formats, people come out of the woodwork to be sure that I know that lossless digital is way better, or that tape is silly, or whatever format or whatever method is being used is wrong, or it could never sound great, or vinyl records are pointless, whatever, and how they don't understand why anyone wouldn't share their opinion. Well, I think there's more to audio fidelity, music reproduction, and the sound of the recording than just a dictionary definition or how, quote, perfect it is. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's take a quick look at recording history from the beginning all the way through to 2024 and see how what's the best or what's considered perfect has changed. We'll also talk about something that I feel these folks miss, the human element, the emotional connection. Stay tuned. So what does the term fidelity mean when it comes to music reproduction? Well, Wikipedia says that fidelity denotes how accurately a copy reproduces its source. And I think that's fair. I believe the goal in any type of recording is to get the most accurate representation of the source that you can. Now that extends to any type of recording or copying of any type of source. Photography, audio recording, even something as artistic as painting a portrait. It's an interpretation of that original medium to the best of the ability of the device or person doing the recording. What's considered a faithful reproduction has changed over the years. Long before there was lossless digital recording and playback, amazing recordings were being made. Recordings that people of the time couldn't believe weren't live. Until you're introduced to something better, what you have is the best. So where have we come from? The very first device that's credited with recording the human voice was the Phonautograph. Patented in 1857 by Edward Leon Scott de Martinville, it recorded the physical waves of audio information on smoke-infused glass or paper. Now, it couldn't play them back, it simply recorded the sound waves as a two-dimensional drawing on paper. Now, it wasn't until 2008 that the tracing was scanned into a computer and then the waves converted to truly faithful sound. You could hear the inventor slowly singing Au clair de la lune. In 1877, it was theorized that the recording could be etched into glass and played back with a stylus. But before this could be achieved, something better had been introduced: Thomas Edison's phonograph. The phonograph has developed quite a bit over the years, but the original concept remains the same. Record a sound as grooves in a surface, and then reproduce them using a stylus. When the phonograph was introduced in 1878, Thomas Edison had created the recorded music industry. He just didn't know it at the time. Finally, there was a way to preserve and record any type of sound. Voice, speeches, concerts, anything you could get close to the horn of the phonograph and record in the time allotted. These first recordings were purely mechanical, no electrical or electronic help. A hand-wound mechanism and purely mechanical connection for recording and playback. Hearing the human voice reproduced was magical, and I'm sure no one complained about the quality.
I am the Edison phonograph, created by the great wizard of the New World to delight those who would have melody or be amused. I can sing you tender songs of love. I can give you merry tales and joyous laughter. I can transport you to the realms of music. I can cause you to join in the rhythmic dance. I can lull the babe to sweet repose, or waken in the aged heart soft memories of youthful days. No matter what may be your mood, I am always ready to entertain you. When your day's work is done, I can bring the theater or the opera to your home. I can give you grand opera, comic opera, or vaudeville. I can give you sacred or popular music, band, orchestra, or instrumental music. I can render solos, duets, trios, quartets. I can aid in entertaining your guests. When your wife is worried after the cares of the day and the children are boisterous, I can rest the one and quiet the other. I never get tired, and you will never tire of me, for I always have something new to offer. I give pleasure to all, young and old. I will go wherever you want me, in the parlor, in the sick room, on the porch, in the camp, or to your summer home. If you sing or talk to me, I will retain your songs or words and repeat them to you at your pleasure. I can enable you to always hear the voices of your loved ones, even though they are far away. I talk in every language. I can help you to learn other languages. I am made with the highest degree of mechanical skill. My voice is the clearest, smoothest, and most natural of any talking machine. The name of my famous master is on my body and tells you that I am a genuine Edison phonograph. The more you become acquainted with me, the better you will like me. Ask the dealer.
Eventually, the cylinders were replaced with discs, and mechanical mechanisms replaced with electric motors, microphones, and machines. With this improvement, the quality of the sound reproduced changed dramatically. Perhaps then the older cylinders didn't sound as good as the new discs did, but there was now something better. But both were sold together for still some time. Now, after World War II, even better systems were invented. The microgroove record that we're all familiar with, that hit the scene, and not very long after, stereo records came along. Then quadraphonic records made an attempt at success, each one trying to top the other in quality and enjoyment of the listener. At the same time that microgroove records were really hitting their stride, another medium was being perfected: magnetic tape. Now we're getting into the more modern era where most of these formats are going to be familiar to most of us. Now, records are great if all you want to do is listen, but what if you want to record your own music? Well, not everyone has a record press in their basement, so what do you do then? Well, prior to World War II, wire recorders were creating a little bit of a buzz, pun intended, in the market. They had the ability to record and play back on a microscopically thin piece of wire. They used a magnetic head to record and play back onto that wire as it passed quickly across the head. Magical! Except they tended to turn into a bird's nest if you just looked at them wrong. Something better and more convenient was really needed. Enter magnetic tape. Finally, home recordists could create their own albums. Want to listen to your favorite radio program again later? No problem, just record it. In the home, the first popular magnetic tape format was open-reel, quarter-inch tape. At first, it was mono. Later, stereo 2-track recorders came to popularity with a left and right track being recorded across the entire tape. 4-track recorders came soon after with a stereo program on each side of the tape. So what do you think these people thought about their 4-track stereo reel-to-reel? I'm assuming it was the best thing that they'd ever heard. The quality of those recordings was way better than a 78 RPM record. It was light years ahead of an AM radio broadcast, and it was likely better than an LP of the time, or even a 45 RPM single, which might have been mono, by the way. Tape technology continued to improve. The precision of the tape heads, the formulation of the tape. Recording studios were using up to 2-inch wide tape, running at up to 30 inches per second. Tape really became the standard for a long time. The Lear 8-track cartridge was introduced in the mid-1960s to help make tape more convenient in the home and in the car. Around the same time, Philips introduced the compact cassette. Later in the 1970s, Sony introduced the Elcaset. The open-reel format still continued to be perfected during all this time as well. Yes, there were other formats, but really, the only one that really took hold worldwide was the compact cassette. Technology was constantly being improved with the decks and the tape itself, eventually becoming amazingly good. Millions upon millions of people enjoyed tape for decades and really never complained about it. It was exciting to be able to pick up the latest album from your favorite band or record your own tapes. We connected with our music. Was the recording perfect? Well, that depends on who you ask. But it was pretty much the best any of us had heard, just like those first people to listen to phonograph recordings. The 1980s really brought the digital age to music. When the CD was introduced, it was totally amazing. We became acutely aware of tape hiss like never before. It was something we really didn't notice or bother us very much before a format was available that didn't have any. Hiss was a part of life. It was always there, until suddenly it wasn't. I remember listening to early CDs. The quality was amazing. But I'm going to get some flack here, I know, but I was more amazed by being able to hear the light hiss of an original analog master tape in the background on a CD. Remember, most studios still recorded on analog tape for another decade or two after the CD was introduced. You may have been listening to a digital copy, but it was a digital copy of an analog tape. And to me, that's a very happy compromise. Being able to listen to a faithful reproduction of the original analog master was the pinnacle of excellence for me. Now that didn't last forever though. Eventually, new artists recorded their music 100% digitally. Enter the era of sterile music. Sterile music. Okay, where are you going with this? Well, I'll tell you. When music recording and reproduction became entirely digital, I feel like it lost some character. Now stick with me here. A superb all-digital recording with no enhancement sounds great to me. I'm not going to say that I don't enjoy digital recordings, because I do. I really do. But I think when the entire process went digital, we also gained the opportunity to manipulate the recording. Think auto-tune. I remember back when Cher released her song Believe. Take a minute to think back and listen to that one in your head for a second. That song was a wake-up call to me that music would never be the same. No longer is a recording a faithful reproduction of the source. Yes, there are a couple of people who don't use any of that stuff, but the trend in the industry is about sample manipulation. Some of what makes music human gets eliminated. When was the last time that you heard an artist take a breath right before the line in a song? Or the sound of their mouth moving, the subtle human noises that accompany a live performance? These all get wiped out during editing now. Now listen to something classic. I'd suggest some early Linda Ronstadt or a Carpenter's album, a good analog acoustic song. You can hear them open their mouth to sing, the breath, the emotion. So that brings me back to the original question. What does music or audio fidelity really mean then? Does perfect really mean better? Now, I'm a person who connects not only with the perfectness of the recording, but also the emotion that's contained within that recording. I believe there are many things that make a recording of music sound great, at least to me. First of all, was it enough to amaze the people at the time it was originally made? Think back to the first recordings on a phonograph. Do you think the people hearing that recording of a human voice for the first time in history turned up their nose at it and said, "Oh, that's rubbish, it doesn't sound anything like him"? No, they didn't. They were listening to the pinnacle of technology of their day. They thought it sounded amazing. Same thing for those old 78s that may sound horrible to us today. But think about the connection people had to that music. Hearing Glenn Miller's In the Mood on a 78 can transport you back to that time. You're hearing it precisely as the people did when they had that party in their living room 90 years ago. Could you listen to a perfect recording of it if you wanted to? Yeah, but the quality of that original source is what amazed those people in those days. When I went to Woolworth's on Thetford High Street as a child, and I bought that 45 RPM single or a cassette, and I popped it into my machine at home, it was the best that I had. I connected with that. That brings me to number 2. What's the emotional connection? Well, I think that can manifest itself in any number of ways, but music is something innately human. Hearing a song can instantly transport us back to another time. It stirs memories in us that can make us smile, laugh, or cry. It doesn't matter whether it's a record, a tape, or a digital file. The song itself holds some of that power. Now I want you to play that song on the format that you used when that song set those memories and feelings in you in the first place. It only enhances that experience. So, audio fidelity, what does it mean? It means not only does it recreate the music in the best way possible, but it also stirs the emotions in the most vivid way that you can. Sometimes that's not with a lossless, manipulated digital recording. Sometimes it's an old cassette. Creating new recordings on these older formats helps to enhance the experience for a lot of us too. The quality may not be the best when it comes to the recording itself, but the quality of the emotional connection and the experience is off the charts. Are there better, easier ways to record music? Yeah, nobody is arguing with that. It's the experience that's important. Faithfully reproducing the emotions is what's become a lost art, at least in my eyes. Now, hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight for those who struggle with understanding the appeal of analog audio reproduction. It's not about the quality per se. Now, what are your thoughts on the subject? Agree? Disagree? Now, I'm sure I'll still get the usual trolls in the comments telling me that I'm wasting my time, and that's fine. If you're a troll and you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. Maybe now you can understand where I'm coming from. It's not a waste of time for me. There are far worse things that I could spend my time or money on than reviving some old emotional connections on outdated equipment. The important thing to know is that just as styles and genres of music are a very personal thing, so is how you listen to it. I'll never tell someone that they're wrong for how they choose to listen to their music or what kind of music they enjoy. Some people simply enjoy it differently than the way I do, and that's okay. Let me know what you think in the comments. And I appreciate you watching and sticking with me through this look from past to present. If you're still here, chances are you're already subscribed, and I thank you for that. If not, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out, and I don't want you to miss what we have coming up in the future. Thanks for watching, and happy listening.